How did Shelly do so much more damage than all others in second day of Atal? They were playing with an augmentation evoker, no? While everyone else were playing with a healer or with a repeller. So not only does the augmentation evoker amplify the warlock's damage, you have one less class that actually does damage compared to a 4th DPS, right? So, like, if you play with a red paladin, that paladin is gonna take a lot of the AoE damage away from another player. And therefore, your overall damage is gonna be lower because of it. The augmentation evoker is just making him do more damage. Yeah, but it was like 50% higher. Well, I don't have to see. You're saying in Atal Dasar. It depends a little bit also on the polls you're doing, right? You say day 2, you said. Day 2 in Atal Dasar, you said. What's this one?
You have a 4 DPS comp on both sides now, Sally, on that red paladin.
Wow, that is going to be so fun. Of course, I know somebody that was rooting for the red paladin, so I'm just very happy we see that. But the big question is, how many of these teams are adapting to what we saw? And looking at Echo on the left-hand side, you're seeing that they're doing the same pull. We're not going to head all the way to Alonza to pull everything.
Okay, so they're starting off
it up here. And for the dogs, we're seeing familiar territory as well with
doing a massive pull with
first.
Rasan.
So do you think that pulling off this completely new strat
and
would be a
Bloodlust
little bit too hard for teams overnight?
So, I mean, Echo is certainly changing up a lot, right? Like, not having the healer, also saving their Bloodlust. They are completely changing, not their route. They did do the same pull earlier, or yesterday, rather. But they're doing it without a healer.
Yo, thank you, Nicholas.
And look at the damage that he's putting out on that red paladin. And yeah, holding on to Bloodlust is very interesting. We've seen Echo use the Bloodlust immediately as soon as the dungeon had started yesterday, and then get it ready at the very, very end of their run. But now they think that they are not going to get their Bloodlust ready, so they are banking on a less than 10-minute run or around 10 minutes. So they definitely think that they're going to be quicker than yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good indicator right there, telling you that you will only get this one Bloodlust. We're not going to send it at the very start like the dogs did. The dogs right now finishing
can we just acknowledge how sick it is that Shelly came in very late and still performed with the team? Yeah, he joined them after the time trial, right? But I mean, this is a perfect season for Shelly, though. Warlock is meta. I mean, I can understand why he joined. There's no better season for him to come in and play.
Send it on a very big pull like the one we saw in the Volcal area for Legendary yesterday.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And I do also want to quickly talk about the difference in the 4th DPS that they chose to bring. So
they're doing our pull second after the boss is dead.
It's probably a little bit more damage to bring because they can buff 3 damage dealers, which is very nice in comparison. And they also have a lot of mitigation. And on top of that, they have Oppressive Roar, which is so good for raging.
Oh no, Soda dies.
While a Red Paladin, on the other hand, does also have a lot of damage output, on top of having a lot of extra utility with Bubble, Bop, Sacrifice.
Wait, what's going on?
Defenses that they have, and a lot of off-healing as well. So while the Aug Evoker has mitigation,
oh no,
has a lot of off-healing. You can see Flash of Lights being casted by Celia here, and just a lot of Word of Glories coming out.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. Just in that very last pull for Echo, the red just topping the damage meter. I am personally just super excited that we get to have a little bit of a melee path. But on the right-hand side, we're seeing tragedy unfold. Several people dying throughout this pull here. The Juggernauts, we have a couple of those assaults.
The Juggernauts.
Problem is, if these guys enrage the Juggernauts, their hitbox gets just a little bit bigger, and sometimes that safe spot that you had before isn't really safe anymore. And there's just so many of these that if you're moving around, chances are you're gonna get hit. Happening again here now on 7 deaths.
Also, Robin is trolling. Chi-Def Trinket MDI rips DPS. That's kind of based.
That is very unfortunate for dogs. And yeah, this is the problem with the raging affix in this dungeon.
You have to choose between
crazy pulls. and
gaining more
they
tank damage.
do the pulls, but if one
Or
person goes down and you're losing a little bit of damage, especially with that
if the
healer,
tank dies,
and
your
with
whole team
everyone
wipes.
raging and that the mental going through, none of the mobs being interruptible anymore, or
I think it's
stable or
very rare
stable,
that a tank
all of these wildfire
changing
casts going out, all of these charges
a
coming
tank
through,
changing
it's
to a
so much
DPS
damage in a
trinket
and yeah, it
is the
really
deciding
a domino
factor
effect as soon as one person goes down, and that is exactly what happened for
to
Dogs
win
there.
a series.
Thankfully managed to recover and still finish up the pool, which is
Like, that
honestly
is
impressive,
not
because
happening.
As soon as you're all enraging and you lose people, that is probably a wipe on any given day on like a live server run. But yeah, thankfully Dogs did manage to recover. But yeah, Echo already on Rasan, about to finish up that boss, and they're just moving so quickly through this dungeon. They're already up to 80% enemy forces. I believe they're probably just going to go into Volcal with the rest of the trash and leave some percentages up. They're going to do a skyscraper.
People dropping, dropping Cauterize in Season 1, it was also, it was kind of crazy.
Fast run by Echo. I really wonder if they practiced this from yesterday to today, or if they had this already planned before and just didn't want to show it yesterday, because this seems like a very big change in their strat and route.
Yeah, you know, Echoes sometimes are pretty good for having some extra secrets up their sleeve. We will never truly know what they had prepared before, but we did just see the Bloodlust come out on Rizan, that previous poll, so that was their Bloodlust for this key, if they really are going to do it sub 10. On the other side, the Dogs are going to get it back in 6 minutes, but of course, with those extra devs, they're just a little bit behind. We did see the poll count now go up to the 98.6%, which is where they were.
But you said, like,
well on the
you
side
said
of
on
Echo,
day
which
2,
means we're just gonna
Shayla was
drag
doing
those
way more than
strategies
any other
up
warlock
to
in
Daphne,
Atal.
like you said, so it's just Volcal and then that last boss plus a
I'm
Sky
surprised
Screamer
you
for Echo.
chose
And I think
a
if we're
dungeon that they
looking at the
completely
timer here, man,
shambled.
it's 5 minutes 30 seconds. This is absolutely looking like it could be something.
As like the key that you would
It
evaluate
definitely
damage in.
does. They're just speeding through this key. And we talked about legendaries throughout yesterday and everyone being in Atal.
You should really not compare overall in dungeons when people are running different routes.
Echo,
A dungeon you can kinda see it in is like Fall, perhaps, where maybe it has, maybe you can see a little bit there, but
just keeping it a secret.
then you also have like
presumably.
Warlocks,
And this is just crazy to
like
see
some
how
Arena
this
Firing, some are
also
Chaos
with that
Bolting,
red
some like
Paladin
it's,
Zelia absolutely
you see
blasting
so
this
many
key
different
and
damage
keeping everyone
profiles, people
alive
that are
as well.
focusing more on
Yeah,
single
especially
target,
Volcal,
focusing more on
which is
AoE,
just a
on
lot of
certain
damage
pulls,
trigger.
with depending
yeah,
on
just doing
comps or
absolutely
cooldown
amazing job
timings
making
and
sure
all of these
everyone stays
things.
alive through all of
And you
these
see
bombs.
one guy going super ethical, going full
Yeah, you can see
single
it
target
every
blast.
single time. The cast
And then there's
basically
one guy
begins.
just
Of
fucking
course,
going
we
full
loved
AoE
it, but
damage. You're like,
the
holy
players
shit,
are
this
just
guy's
ticking
blasting.
lower and lower. And of course, we also still have that Vampiric
There's so
Embrace
many
of Mirrors
factors
try and
to
get
it
some
that
off-healing
you
that
just
way.
need to understand
Warlocks,
that
I
it's
said it
not
before, I
always
will
just
say it
about
again,
overall
they're just
damage.
so tanky. They're usually good on their own, but then everybody else does need a little bit of extra help. And Zelia doing a fantastic job at that. If you're looking at the details left-hand side, currently second in healing, as you would often see a healer.
But
Just
Shelle
so
is
much
definitely is a
movement
good warlock
coming
though.
through on that side.
Don't get me
But on
wrong.
the other side, of course,
He's
we are
blasting
seeing
for
the
sure.
Dogs pull up to Volcal as well, and a pretty familiar picture as well. I wonder how their route would have played out.
But
if we
routing
didn't
plus
have
augmentation
the
evoker
terror
in
kind
this
of happen with
case
the Juggernauts there.
will of course make a big difference.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate for Dogs. I think it definitely would have been a lot closer. And now, of course, something can still go wrong for Echo, but they only have Yasma left and one of the Sky Screamers. They're going to be pulling up there. You can see Zelia already running ahead, making sure he is the one to maybe even clear some of the spiders.
The Everbloom run. If
That's probably
Everbloom
gonna
was
be the
also
most
with an
important part of this
augmentation.
whole dungeon, right? Look at that.
Yeah, if you have arachnophobia, you should be watching out. But they're actually setting up a
Oh, they're
gateway here
skipping
to
it.
try and skip some of the spiders. Make sure you're
told
not
you.
going to open yourself up for some risks. You said it. You're right. And now we're up here. The Sky Screamer should be coming.
Gateways are
around
so
the
fucking
corner
sick.
as well. We're in fight with Yasma. 7 minutes.
I mean, we can
50
see we can
seconds
skip
on the
forward.
timer.
We don't need to see this last boss, do we? What's the run? Okay, this was a 929. I want to see the overall. Okay, here it is. Okay. Let's see here. Damage done. I mean, they have just in general like higher numbers across the board, right? they have all done more damage. I mean, the thing is, they have done 917 million damage in the key, and we had done 876 million damage in the key. And we were done with the key. They hadn't finished it yet. That's because they had a full team wipe, though, right? I'm pretty sure it was because they had a full team wipe. Maybe they had to play something again. But in general, when you have an Augmentation Evoker compared to a Red Paladin, you can see how much like overall damage a Red Paladin does. Like, this is an AoE machine that will automatically take damage away from other DPS players, whereas you see the Augmentation Evoker doing absolutely no damage, but instead buffs the rest of the team. So not only do they have more, they not only do more damage, they also have one less DPS player to do AoE, right? So that is a big factor when it comes to looking at these damage numbers. In this case, that and different routing, of course.